Hey everyone, I thought I'd put together a video on how to get the best out of the GoPro Max. This is a great bit of kit. I used to use my GoPro a lot, but I find all I use is the GoPro Max these days. So I'm going to give you a load of tricks and tips on how to get the best out of this piece of kit. So the first thing you really need to know about this is it's a 360 camera, of course. It's got a lens on both sides, but the important thing is anything that you put in between these two lenses can't be seen by either of them. So generally, if you're mounting this onto something, as long as you keep whatever you're mounting it on hidden in between the two lenses, you'll get this lovely sort of floating camera effect where you won't see whatever it's mounting on at all. I'll show you now how this works with a helmet. So here we have the Max attached to a helmet mount. And as I mentioned before, the actual strut is well within the bounds of the two lenses, so neither lens can see it. So any footage you take with this, you'll lose this section in between the two lenses from it. You might get a little line or a little tear where those two bits of footage are cropped together, but sort of the longer the pole or the less interesting the area that you've attached it to, you won't notice this at all. In the case of a helmet, you probably will notice that seam, but generally, whenever anyone's looking at the footage, they're not really looking at the helmet at all. They're looking at what you're up to or the scenery around it. So, yeah, as I say, it's important to actually align this with the strut. If, for example, you bent this like that, you looked at the footage for this, you would, of course, you'd see the strut. It'd probably be a little bit fuzzy at this end, but then you'd see the full strut going straight to the helmet. So it kind of defies the point of it. So it's very important whenever you're attaching it to something, you want it to be, the mount to be completely invisible. You align the body of the camera with the strut and you get some great footage out of that. So moving on to the helmet mount itself. This is a great simple mount and you can get some really, really good results from this. It's great for seeing all around you. You can also see yourself depending on the angle that you put this at. You can see your face. One thing to consider, and it's a general thing with all of these camera mountings, is generally the best quality footage is actually directly in front of either lens. You need to consider exactly what's going to be right in the periphery of these two lenses. Generally, it does a pretty good job of kind of evening it out all around the place, as you'll see in the footage that I'm showing. But yeah, if you want really, really good results, generally you should be trying to get whatever you're looking at in front of one of the two lenses, and ideally not on the periphery, really. But yeah, this is a very, very cheap and simple mount to make. All I've done is I've basically taken a helmet mount, stuck it on the top of here. I've also siliconed it on for a little bit of extra protection and put a cable tie around it. You can also put a secondary tether like I've done here, just to make triply sure that this isn't going anywhere. But yeah, it's a great little mount. Very easy to use, just pop it on your head whenever you're ready and go ride. Super, super happy with it. Another mount which I really like is this whiz mount. It's basically a backpack which you can just put on your back at any time. As before, we've aligned the camera with the mast of this, and yep, you basically, in the footage, as you can see, you can't see the mounting strut whatsoever. Even though the actual strut is a little bit wider than the camera, you still can't see any of it. I really, really like the footage you get from this. It's great the way it's kind of offset ever so slightly to the side. I think it gives a really nice perspective. When we look at the harness mount later, I'm not so keen on the kind of shots you get from that. I think on the harness mount it's a little bit too much directly behind you. Gives quite a nice kind of video game kind of look. But yeah, I prefer this one and I use it a lot. I think one of the main disadvantages of this is the fact that you always get the backpack in any shots you see. Now, I don't care about it. It really doesn't bother me whatsoever that there's a backpack in there. But for some people, you know, they might be worried about that. Again, I think it's really, really nice. You can just kind of take it on and off whenever you want to film. Super, super simple. The one I've got here is the whiz mount one. I don't think you can actually get this anymore. You might be able to get it second hand off eBay or something like that. But I have noticed that there are kind of replica backpacks that you can get that are pretty cheap, about £50, $60, something like that. And I'm sure, you know, they're well made and will stand the test of time. But yeah, great bit of kit, and I use this one an awful lot. Right, now we're getting properly experimental. So this is a harness mount we've got here. So I've taken a harness and I've got basically a flagpole mount, and I've bolted it through to the back of it. The quite nice thing about this is you can adjust the angle of this. You can undo the screw and it's got a ratchet system that allows you to change the angle of it. But I think the real advantage of this mount compared to, say the backpack mount is, you know, you really don't see any kind of mounting whatsoever. You know, you're just you and your harness. There's a floating camera behind you. It's really, really good. As I mentioned before, I think one of the issues with this is just there is generally, because the camera is directly behind you, it's looking straight into your back. It gives a nice kind of video game kind of look to it, but for me, it's not that interesting a view. Maybe you'll think differently about it yourself. But yeah, it's pretty straightforward to make. I basically just drilled through the back of this harness here. I put some flat plates, some T-nuts, and I've just screwed straight through to the back of this, glued it in to make sure it's secure. Yeah, it's a great little, fairly easy mount to make, especially if you get this this flagpole mount. I think you can just get that off Amazon very, very easily. Make your own pole, and you're good to go. Yeah, great bit of kit. I like it. Okay, now getting properly experimental. So I wanted to make a proper line mount, and this is my attempt at it. Actually, it works really, really well. So this is just a basic cage that you can again buy off Amazon, just like a protective cage for a GoPro Max. I've taken an old cam rig mount, which I just happen to have lying around. I've screwed it through. There's a camera thread at the bottom of this that you can use, and I've basically used that to bolt this to the cam rig mount. Yeah, these bits of plastic are just to make sure that it doesn't rotate. But yeah, you get some really, really nice footage from this. It's not quite as good as I kind of hoped. I thought it would look really good kind of halfway up the lines. But I think one of the issues with it is that you really get these bent lines and they don't look quite so good, you know, through the fisheye lens. But it is really nice to have, you know, this perfectly stable footage that you get due to the horizon leveling, and the ability to look in any, you know, literally full 360 any direction. You know, it's much better than the normal camera you can get, which is only facing directly towards you. Especially if you kind of want to show, you know, the scenery, show some of your riding, or perhaps show yourself for a bit and then the kite. If you want to do any kind of instructional videos, showing what you're doing, showing what the kite's doing at the same time. super, super cool. I think another disadvantage with this is basically, the lenses are quite exposed. Generally when you have the cam rig mount, the lens is kind of facing towards you, which is somewhat protected. With this, they're both on the outside, so you can't be dragging it along the sand, so you need to be a little bit careful with that. But yeah, this is a great little mount. Experimental, but gives some really, really good results. Try it if you fancy it. So just to wrap up, I hope you enjoyed this video. The GoPro Max is a great bit of kit, really, really good. I've had a lot of fun experimenting, trying the different mounts. You'll probably, if you notice in the footage, I've actually, at the start of the video, there's actually a bit where I attached it to the board. That didn't work out quite so well. I also tried actually with the mouth mount, and that kind of works okay. It's like a regular mouth mount, but you get a much more 360 view. When you're looking back towards yourself, the area that's in between the two lenses, it kind of chops your face off. So you really don't want to be looking back at yourself. It's not great. But if you're looking everywhere else, yeah, the results are really, really good. The only other thing I would mention about this is it does take a pretty powerful PC to actually do the editing. So yeah, make sure you've got a pretty good rig for that. The GoPro app is actually pretty good on a decent mobile phone. It doesn't do the full resolution, but it's pretty good for what you get. If you've just got some short footage you want to just chuck together, it's really, really good. But yeah, generally if you really want to go the whole hog, you need a decent PC. I use Adobe Premiere and the GoPro Reframe plugin. That works really, really well. But yeah, it takes a little bit, a bit more effort to do it all. And you can edit in, native 5.6K, which is what this camera does. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. I've really, really enjoyed playing with the GoPro Max, and I really, really like the results it gets. I think the really sort of wide angle view you get from it, brings in all the scenery, and it just looks gorgeous. It really, really does. It just looks a level above the GoPro, and especially with the horizon leveling, you get really, really nice, stable. Everything's beautifully stable. You don't have the camera rotation or anything like that. And yeah, I think it really is kind of next gen stuff. Very interesting to see if they bring out another new one of these. GoPro 9's just been released, so it'll be interesting to see if they create a new Max. I reckon maybe it'll be next year myself. Okay, thank you very much. Bye.